Some of the most fucked up people I've met in my life have been like extremely rich. I would even consider it worse than growing up poor. If there's any other subsector, call it racial, religious, or whatever, that thinks they have it hard, be Jewish for one day.
I love having these real talks, to be honest with you, because it puts things in perspective.
We're ready to go? What episode is it? You think? 44. All right, Cadillac. Haven't seen you in at least 5, 6, 7. I don't know, 7 episodes maybe or more. Well, no, we did the NAR thing. I would. That was more like a class than an episode.
It was for me, at least.
Yeah,
That's what I do for a living.
So you've been out and about. Where have you taught in the last month?
Oh man,
I know you were in Germany for a while.
I was in Germany for a while. I've been all over the place, man. Montana. I'm going to South Dakota next week. I'm going to the Panhandle.
So you don't drink, right?
No.
That fascinates me, right? So what do you do in Germany if you don't drink? Like,
there's plenty to do. There's a lot of food.
Okay.
Obviously,
so you're a food guy, definitely a food guy.
I'm a fat kid, dude.
Yeah.
Feed me. I'm a happy guy.
So just go to restaurants.
Go to restaurants. I mean, there's a lot to see there. A lot of world history went through there. It was
no shit.
And so plenty to see. I mean, I'm always curious. And
right.
so
did you know? That sounds like it's funny. So for whatever reason, we switched. We're no longer popular in Australia. What was it, like 12% of our viewership was from Germany? Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
No, I mean, Germany is going through some stuff. It's a very interesting culture there. Like it's here, somebody's got a nice car. And you're like, oh man, I like to be like that person. Over there, you got a nice car. Like you're ripping people off. You're a bad person.
Really?
I mean, they try very much to do that here.
Right.
There's a subset of society that tries to make us
Are
very
they lefty or righty over there?
Oh my gosh, yeah, a shade left of Marx. I mean, they're I don't want to say
well,
I'm being silly.
Right.
They're very green. They've made some very interesting choices based upon that have really hurt them as far as making them dependent upon other parts of the world for their resources. They've gone away entirely from nuclear power, which has made them very dependent upon Russia for natural gas.
Yeah, and that whole nuclear power shit is ridiculous. Like nuclear power is one of the safest powers out there.
Cleanest thing that we got.
Cleanest thing we have by far. Those submarines, those nuclear submarines and stuff, they could just go around forever. What stops them is that they have humans in them.
Yeah, no,
they got to get food and all that stuff, but they could go on forever.
So I mean, the big issues with nuclear is the disposal of the waste, but the amount of waste that's generated is infinitesimally small compared to the amount of power that it generates. It's not the cleanest that we have. Obviously, wind and all this other stuff is super clean, except that it's unreliable.
Yeah.
And when you need it, you don't have it. So what you're forced to do is what they'll do with places like solar. They'll harvest the solar energy. Now they have more than they need. They'll use that to pump water up a hill. And then when they don't have sun, they'll let the water go down the hill, use that to turn a water wheel. Right. And that's how they actually create I believe it's called a kinetic battery.
Got it.
And so they store the power for later by using the power to do something that then will allow them to take and reharvest it. But obviously, whenever you do something like that, there's power loss. So it's inefficient.
Yes, one of the times that I spoke to you or texted you or whatever, you were like going 200 on the Autobahn.
Yeah, we were doing 270 kilometers per hour, so that's 165-ish.
Still, right?
Yeah, no, it was he was having fun,
and that's everybody's going that speed.
No. It's crazy because.
But you're allowed to go. There is no speed limit.
There are parts of it where there are no speed limit, and the thing is that once again that jealousy thing comes up. So like if you're driving like a Porsche or something like that, people get out of the way. The car that we were in most of the time was this Mercedes SUV that he had with the high-end twin turbo 8-cylinder monster, and so he's moving really good. But people like intentionally would stay in the way to like kind of slow you down.
Even though it's the Autobahn, right?
Even though it's the Autobahn. So on the Autobahn, there's much better rules than we have there. Like you can't pass on the right-hand side.
Okay.
It's not allowed. But if you're not passing, you can't be in the left-hand lane. Right? And so he was perpetually passing, and there were people that were just sitting there poking around in that left-hand lane.
Just being dicks.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Interesting.
being
So
horrible.
what's the food over there though? Because Germany's not known for their food, just
Oh,
like London or just like England. And
No, England is known for staying away from their food.
Right.
No, Germany is when it comes to pork and chocolate and things like that. They're really,
right,
really
pork
good.
and chocolate, right? Yeah, that's interesting.
No, I did well over there and I mean there's a lot of good baked products like.
So what you mean museums? What are you looking at? Like
No, it was really more just driving around. Look at the town. We drove to Hamburg. We drove to Berlin. We drove to Heidelberg. Down,
right. So I have for whatever reason I realized when we had this Jewish NBA agent. I realized that I have an extremely anti-Semitic audience. Is there anything you could give us for our? Did you see anything over there that would make our anti-Semitic viewers happy over there?
I imagine more annoyed than anything else. Over there, there's any wisp of anything, even any kind of nationalism. Like if you at all say you're a proud German, you're immediately a Nazi. I mean, there's no middle ground there. There is no nationalism that's allowed. Like
so, they are where we're headed, is what you're saying.
They are where they're trying to get us. Like you displaying their flag makes you a Nazi.
Right, like here. Well, here, if you display the American flag, you're Republican, right? If you're embarrassed or burning a flag, you're a Democrat. I mean, it's kind of like a rule of thumb, right? I mean,
I don't know that I don't know that you're wrong. I don't know that you're 100% right, but you're probably more right.
99%.
It's probably a higher percentage than, and it's an interesting thing, right?
Yeah,
I think the basic assumption is kind of this. I think the people on the right assume this is a good country that's made some mistakes, but what's good is well worth preserving and building toward. The left's position is they start with the idea that this is a bad country who's made a whole bunch of horrible moral choices, and it's almost irredeemable.
I know. You obviously you and I see on eye to eye on I would say almost everything politically. Maybe abortion. I haven't even talked to you about abortion. Maybe we're on different sides of that, but who cares, right? But for an immigrant like myself, and it's interesting because you were born here, but you have an immigrant mentality still. Like it was brought up. Your dad raised you like a fucking immigrant.
Yeah.
And, like just appreciate what you have here.
Absolutely. Don't
and
take
the
it
whole
for granted.
situation. So when I see me growing up, again, I came from Cuba on a shrimp boat. I've said it a million times on this podcast, right? For us to come to the United States, it was just the opportunity of a lifetime, something worth risking your life for. It is so amazing on that side that it is worth risking your life. Now, when things would get complicated is if we got here and we're like, oh shit, this is not that. I just risked my life for no reason. Like but no, it is exactly what it's supposed as advertised. So it's interesting because growing up an immigrant, I always found myself very proud of being American, right? Like being American. So I grew up around the people that I grew up on. American flag you should be proud of being American. I don't know where the fuck this turned around where now all of a sudden, if you're the guy with the American flag, if you have an American flag in your car or on your boat or on your whatever, it's like you are, I don't know, what is it? What are the Democrats tag you as or label you as if you're flying?
The only way to take and do this is they've taught a very stilted version of history, right? They've gone down the road, and one of the most cited guys is Howard Zinn, who made up, he wrote a history book that was basically historical fiction.
Right.
And it's been passed off, the academia picked up on it and loved it. I mean, the vast majority of people in the Howard Zinn Society that worship at this guy's, altar are academics. And the reality of it is it's one of the most poorly researched, one of the most incorrect, one of the most factually just fabricated pieces of information, but the left has fallen over. Christopher Columbus for hundreds of years
was awesome. Right.
Even the people that were most critical of what went on all said people should have been more like Columbus because Columbus tried his absolute level best to do the right thing. Howard Zinn undid that by taking two different quotes from Christopher Columbus, throwing them together in his book, completely out of context, and saying this is who this guy was, that he was trying to enslave people. And that unchecked, unresearched, has been accepted as gospel doctrine by the left in academia, in classrooms, all over the place, and this is how they sour people on history. Look, understanding and admitting history is nuanced, all right? There were mistakes made, there were things done well and things done poorly, but overall, when you compare it to the history of the rest of the world, the United States has to come out ahead of that thing over just about everybody.
Yeah.
And we have been the one overwhelmingly that has been keeping the peace all this time.
Sure.
Because frankly, if we step back, Europe has a huge problem. The Far East. So all of this stuff that people want to take and make us the bad guy, there's a famous saying, I think it's attributed to Voltaire, but I'm not sure it's his. The perfect is the enemy of the good. In other words, if you are comparing something to perfection, you will never be happy with what you actually have.
Well, yeah, and comparison is comparison is the enemy of happiness, or
Absolutely.
something like that. When you worry about yourself and where you're going, you're good. When you start comparing yourself to everybody else, well, why did he step up three steps faster than I did, and why am I only up 2 steps and everything? That's when things go wrong. If you worry about yourself and you stay focused on you getting better, and it's that old saying, I'm only competing against myself, right? It is, you're gonna continue to progress. You start, it's that what's this swimmer? The guy with all the medals,
Phelps.
The Phelps. He's swimming, and then he's ahead, and then there's a swimmer right next to him, and the swimmer's just looking at him, right? So it's Phelps is here, swimmer's right next to him, and he's looking at him, and then it says, winners worry about themselves, losers worry about winners.
Absolutely.
Right? So that's an absolute fact.
And it's weird for me because the dissonance that exists, because it seems like they want to take in the folks, the anti-American folks, seem to want to worship all these cultures besides the United States. Yet the people that have the choice are overwhelmingly leaving where they're from to come to here.
No. They are risking their lives
Absolutely.
on rivers and through drug dealer fucking networks and everything to come over here. Did you hear about the Haitians, the 100,000 Haitians that landed in an Ohio town, and all the cats and dogs are gone and stuff?
I mean,
it's a fucking fact. I mean,
extreme poverty. I mean, and see,
well, it's not only that, they come from a place where anything that moves is food. It's not the case here.
And we're not that far removed away from that being Germany. Right. Germany, between World War I and World War II, there was not a cat, a rat, or a dog in the streets. Right. That was the extremeness of the poverty that existed there. So, I mean, the idea that it's isolated to these places, different parts of the world make political and economic choices that put them in those positions, and there's real human fallout from that. And the United States has been the safe place that you could go to have a hope for something better. Yeah. And the folks that want to take and piss all over that, while worshiping these other places that people are looking to get away from to get to this, I don't really understand how they hold that dissonance in their head without their head exploding.
Well, and why don't they just go there? Like Germany, for example, right? If they love the way like Americans over here, they want to see I get it with Cuba all the time. There was a guy, man, let me tell you something. You want to your head really wants to blow up. So again, I had this Israeli basketball agent that's been on the podcast and everything like that. And man, our comments just went absolutely insane. Mm-hmm. I mean, if there's any other subsector, call it racial, religious, or whatever, that thinks they have it hard, be Jewish for one day. Mm. Yep. One day. The amount of hate and absolute openly attack this religion on our Instagram, it is absolutely amazing. Yep. It is disgusting. It is alarming. So why are the Jews being able to be attacked openly? Like there was a guy, so he was just going crazy on it. I'm like, well, let me click on this guy and see. I was fascinated by what the hell was going on. And I go to click on it, and this guy has a video saying, fuck you, Israel, fuck Israel. Just openly anti-Semitic. If that were towards any other subsector of our population, it would be people in the streets complain. But they could happen in the universities. They could get attacked anywhere. I don't know. I mean, again, if you're any other race, religion, or anything, and you're complaining about being discriminated against or anything, be Jewish one day.
Well, I think
one day.
I think that part of this is because there's definitely been an uptick in that.
Yeah.
I think that the left has pulled back from there was consistent agreement that the Jewish people needed to be recognized and that was intolerable behavior, right? And that has been largely pulled back as the left has tried now to cobble together this separate group of people, because the left is largely made up of these relatively disparate groups of people, right? That a lot of times, like if you think about what they're actually about, they don't actually hang out together. Like nobody in that group is going out to dinner with each other.
Let's talk about the gays. I mean, regular gay people don't want nothing to do with the fucking extreme lefty trans movement. You know, DEI, hire me because I'm trans type situation. They want nothing to do. They want to be happy and they want to be gay and they want to be married and they want to have they want to adopt kids and they want and be left alone. That was the gays of the past. Now it's no, I'm in your face. I want your kids to be trans. I want you to pick their gender after they're born. I mean, it's what's this Megan Fox girl? 3 trans kids. Megan Fox has 3 kids, all of them born one gender, and now they're another gender. All 3 of them. I mean, what the fuck? Like, what is going? That's what extreme leftist brings you. You know what I mean?
I mean, I think that this is the left's position is the highest thing that you can be is yourself. Everything is about you. It's actually in an effort to be very caring about everybody, it's all become about you. So you're a good person. You show everybody you're a good person by doing these things, and that makes you feel good about you. I don't know that any of it is truly generous or kind. I mean, being truly generous or kind is, hey, I see somebody hurting over there. I go over there. I take care of this. I help them. And I don't have to get my name out. Like, no, guys, don't take a picture of this, right? That's being a good person. Like, I don't need anything out of this. None of this seems to be that. All of this seems to be me showing everybody. This virtue signaling is a real thing. You know, like you say stuff and then you look around and make sure everybody heard you. And
hey, did you hear me?
Yeah. Like, see,
not racist.
Aren't I a good person? And so it seems that these folks that are very sensitive to being triggered on all this stuff, yet are very comfortable now saying some very anti-Semitic things because that's the cool place now to be controversial and to like, because here's the thing, this generation doesn't have anything to fight. They don't have a world war. They don't have.
Well, it goes back to that saying, the strong. What is it? Strong times.
Hard times make strong men. Strong make
Right. That one. Right. So it's you know, and why I'm concerned about this election. It's like analyzing the real estate market, right? Where are we today? Where are we now? It's a buyer's market or seller's market or anything like that. So I was thinking the other day, laying in bed, you know, just kind of thinking, I'm like, we might be a lefty country now. Like we might be in the. So let's analyze this, right? So hard times creates hard men, right? Hard men create easy times.
Good times, yeah.
Good times creates weak men.
Yep.
That's where we are right now.
Oh, sure.
Right.
This is what happened to Rome, and
right.
Sure.
So we are in the stage of good. Easy times creates weak men. Correct. That's where we are right now. Yep. So what needs to happen in order for us to now create, you know, hard men and the whole situation is we need to go through some hard times, and the only way to do that is if we go extreme left. Right, and we have to have, you know, these food controls and this equity, everybody equal, no matter, you know, equity of equality of income of outcome, right? Yep. No matter who you are, how hard you work, how much talent you have, everybody is absolutely the same, right? So, you know, that's going to create hard times, which is going to create some hard men. And then,
but
you know,
the question is, right? Will it go too far before it's redeemable? Because that's the problem, right? Every great culture comes to an end at some point, and typically what happens.
Right, but are we there? That's what I'm trying to say. Like we might be.
The question is, I mean, because we've toyed with this back and forth before. We go left, we come back right. I mean,
this hard left.
It's different. I mean, you can look economically at some of the decisions made. If I was to take in like a list some of the things that were done during FDR's presidency, you'd be shocked that could go on. They made it illegal for you to own gold. They confiscated everyone's gold. Could you imagine them coming and say that gold chain?
That, with all due respect, and you are, I've told you many times, you're the smartest guy I know. That doesn't hold a candle to putting tampons in men's restrooms.
It is a different.
I mean,
it is
that
a
is
different grab for power.
tampon Tim, like Trump calls him, had an initiative to put tampons in the men's restroom so that when men menstruate, they have a tampon. Have we ever been that extreme?
No, it used to be that we used to fight these battles on the economic front. The left and right was separated by economic policy. There were certain things that we largely agreed on. Those things have... The idea of progressivism is that something always has to be changing because something needs to change for change's sake. And so they're seeking for hills to die on, right? You don't have... there's been... Nobody under like 60 years old was ever drafted, right? And so these folks have never had anything serious enough.
Yeah.
And so this is the war that they want to fight. Everybody needs something important to fight for. So this is the thing they're going to
This is the hill they're willing to die on.
Right. And so this is the slavery of their generation. Folks see now, because in mainstream education, you are told there are oppressors and there are the oppressed. You're one or the other. You can't, there's nothing else. You can either be an oppressor or you can be oppressed. So your job to be a good human being is to find the oppressed and relieve them of the burden of being under the heel of the oppressors. Right. That is it. And so folks have bought into that idea rather than, the idea that we can just have a good common debate about the topic and make progress. And let's find a good way to deal with this. If you don't agree, you are a bad person. Your opinion doesn't matter because by not agreeing, you're a morally evil human being, and that just takes and discounts your opinion. And unfortunately, when that happens, everybody is at each other's throat because you've just called me a name, which does not take in any way deal with the quality of my argument. And you have said by virtue of the name you call me, you're a poopy head because I'm a poopy head now. That has made my well thought through argument completely invalid. And this is what passes for debate in today's world, and that's where the breakdown occurs.
Well, and it's all starting, but I think you're the one who told me, or it was you or Richard that told me that's never really changed. Education has always been lefty.
Yeah.
Education has always been lefty, and if anything, we've gotten a little bit better on that, right?
No, it's gone the other way.
It has gone the other way?
It's the book, I'm trying to think of the book. It was written by, not written by a conservative at all. I believe the book was called The Coddling of the American Mind. And so it was written by somebody who was admittedly quite far left, and somebody else
that was actually on Rogan,
and somebody that was centrist. And they said that the ratio used to be pretty consistently about 4 to 1. There'd be 4 liberals to every 1 conservative in academia, and that was historically the ratio you'd expect for the longest time in this country. Now that ratio is closer to 27 to 1. And so, if you're a conservative, I know a few conservatives in academia, they just don't open their mouth. If they say anything, if they try to voice their opinion, they're immediately shut down and potentially risk losing their employment. And so, as much as they talk about how much they want diversity of ideas, and it's an academic that said that to me, if you really want diversity, tell me how many conservatives are in your humanities department. And the answer is there aren't any.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question because you mentioned books, right? So you've read what, thousands?
Yeah.
If you had to put a number on it.
Right around 3,500, I would say.
3,500 books, right?
Yeah.
You had to give 2 books, just 2. Like there was,
Who's the person I'm talking to? Kid. Basic Economics by Thomas Sowell, for sure. Best book that I've ever read on understanding just how an economy works. One of the best guys for just cutting through the bullshit, looking at bad statistics and telling you what's wrong with them, what's missing that makes them a bad statistic. One of my favorite quotes is Mark Twain, who said there's 3 kinds of lies: lies, damned lies, and statistics. Whenever you get a statistic, you always got to ask, what's missing? What are they leaving out? So that would be a great one. And I just said it, but, obviously without going into some sort of religious text, I would say The Coddling of the American Mind is probably a pretty good read. Understand how important it is for your ideas to be honed in the fire. I love to talk to somebody who thinks differently than me, but has thick enough skin that they can handle the fact that I'm going to push back against their ideas in the best way I know possible. And I want them to do the same. And I want to be able to walk away friends when we're done, because if I don't have the best idea in my head, please show me where I'm wrong.
Yeah.
But I'm also going to take and push you as well, because that's what people that want to be part of a good society should do. They should help each other test their ideas in the fire of debate.
Were you homeschooled?
I was from
Your whole life?
No, from 5th grade on.
5th grade on. What happened in 5th grade that your dad, that
My
was
father
a very
didn't like
bright guy,
he
but
didn't like
even
some of
back
the-
then,
He
right?
didn't like some of the slang I was coming home with, and he was
Like you came back saying, you know what I'm saying, or something like that, or what?
a funna or something like that, you know. And he just didn't want to hear it, and so
That is the funniest fucking reason for that.
and he knew that. He used to tell me all the time, one of his famous lines is, "From the people to the people in 3 generations." The grandfather comes over, he works his fingers to the bone, 18-hour days, and he makes something. The kid comes along, the kid sees it from when he's young, but he wants to make sure his kids doesn't have to go through what he does. So his kids don't.
Was there one incident that he said, no, this is it?
I don't know really what it was. I just know that he believed in hard work. I knew that he was gonna, he had built something. He was gonna leave it to me, and he wanted to make sure that I didn't blow it.
Let me tell you something, man. I'm homeschooling both of my kids. And when I say homeschooling, listen, I want to make sure, like, if any of my friends that are here, I graduated with a 1.5 GPA. I am not capable of homeschooling anybody.
Sure.
Right? Like, at all. So it's not that I'm home, back in my farm, and like I'm with a pencil and a board and shit. No, it's a system. It's a homeschool system.
Sure.
And there's tutors and there's, that type of stuff. And, we even have language and as you know, kind of like you and I have been talking about, creating a curriculum for these kids, a little bit more business oriented. But let me tell you something, man. It is really hard to explain to somebody the homeschooling thing. It is just like you're homeschooling. Oh, really? Why? Yeah. If I don't want to talk about it, I say no. It's because of sports, which is really the reason why it started. But now I'm seeing so many benefits from it.
Sure.
It started because my kids train. There's too much training in order for them to spend it, not in school, because if anybody understands homeschool, they do more schooling.
Yeah.
Actual schooling,
And
like,
in less time.
in way less time.
Yep.
It's just efficiency of learning.
Maximal efficiency.
Maximum efficiency. And what usually happens with these homeschool kids is that we have a kid that's just got into 9th grade right now. He's already taking college credits.
Yep.
Like, the fucking problem with him is that he's gonna almost finish college by the time he finishes high school. Right? That's what the people don't understand. So it's not schooling, it's by far superior schooling. The curriculum is almost identical or better.
Yeah.
Right? It takes away all the fluff, but it's hard for people to understand the homeschooling part. I mean, can you bring some light on your benefits of the homeschooling? You're laughing, so I'm wondering.
I'm tossing this out because anybody that thinks that we do schooling well needs to go back and read the letter of John Quincy Adams to his father, John Adams. John Adams is the 2nd president of the United States. John Quincy Adams, at like 9 or 10 years old, is writing his father and begging his forgiveness for his indolence, for letting his mind wander as he's translating Tacitus from Latin.
Jesus.
As a little kid. Father, I'm mortified that I find my mind wandering, and I know that I need to take and get my, I mean, even the quality of the letter, our kids, no freaking shot.
Yeah.
This experiment with public schooling, which is actually a relatively modern development.
Right. So that's why
has been a failure.
That's what it was explained to me the other day. Like I saw somebody explain it in this way, and I was like, oh my God, you're right. They're like, oh, because this experiment about homeschooling. No. The public school system, the private school system is the experiment.
Yeah.
We've been homeschooling till what? The 30s, the 20s?
Yeah. Believe it or not, largely the labor unions wanted to get the labor unions were responsible for getting children out of the workplace because they wanted to take and thin the working pool. Right. Now, I'm not sitting here making a case for child labor, although I worked as a kid, and I'm very grateful. It was one of the best experiences. From the time I was 9 years old all the way through high school, I went to work every day and drew a paycheck down 6 a.m. to 1 p.m. I went to work. I had responsibilities. I didn't do it. I got in trouble. It was a real job. And I went to school thereafter. But the labor unions wanted to take and thin out the workforce, so they created the truancy system and the schooling system.
So it wasn't the school system that created the school system.
No, I mean it was we need our kids to be educated. Look, there's lots of ways to sell this. We need our kids to be better educated, an educated workforce. And look, I'm a big fan of education. I am, but it's learning the stuff that actually has value. Right. And I think that, and especially considering I told you I went back to college older, they were much more concerned with changing the way that I voted than they were teaching me anything in particular. They were more concerned with me getting their social values, it seemed like.
Right.
I mean, every spare second the teachers had, they were making a social case. So for me, being homeschooled meant that I had more time available. I would typically finish my lessons within an hour and a half or 2 hours a day.
Right.
Because I would go in there, I had a professional curriculum, it was all spelled out for me. I had a checklist of what I had to do, and if I got through that list, I was done.
And by the way, if you want to haul ass and you want to get all your work done for the year in 6 months or in 4, I mean, you could do it as fast as you absolutely. You could be super efficient, and then give you time to do other stuff, you know, and extracurricular activities and the whole situation. So the fact that what people don't realize is how much, and again, I'm just learning this now because now I'm really diving. The first couple of years that my kids were homeschooled, it was like, all right, we'll put them on this fucking thing and just let them do it. But now I'm like really involved in it because I'm kind of helping create the system per se.
Sure.
And it's like you realize how to be able to keep the only reason, let's put it this way, the reason why they keep a kid in school for eight hours, it's more for the parents than it is for the kids.
Yeah.
There's not 8 hours of work there.
There's not.
There's 3 hours, 2 hours of actual, the rest is fluff.
Mm-hmm.
So the kid's in school doing shit, plus the hour of lunch and the recess and the PE and the this and the that and the in between periods and all that kind of stuff. It's fluff. It's a lot of fluff.
And plus, they don't actually learn the material, which is crazy. I mean, I had the friend that I was with in Germany. His son did a year here, and he was blown away that the teachers would give kids study guides that have the actual answers to the test. Like, he was like, all I have to do is study that. Yeah. And everything else I did was a waste of time. Over there, they say, read these 5 chapters, and you better know it because their questions are going to come out of there, and they're not going to give you any guide. They actually expect you to know the stuff.
Well, and homework too. I mean, homework, I've never understood homework because if you're in middle school and you get dropped off at 9 or 8 and then, you know, get picked up at 4, and then you have 2 hours of homework?
Yeah. I mean, if this was a regular job, I'd be earning time and a half for that.
You know what I mean? Well, why is the school not efficient enough that you can get everything done? Why are you not able to get everything done? So another part of the homeschooling is, dude, you get your work done during the day, right? And now, again, I'm being honest, I'm doing it for sports stuff, right? So now they have more time to train or anything like that. But either way, you want your kid to have even more of a life and the whole situation. So now, there's the social aspect of it. I know you. You're not fucking weird. Do you feel you're weird in some cases? I guess.
No,
right?
totally.
It's not because of the homeschooling. So do you think that it affected you socially at all or no?
I would say some in my early years probably, and that's only because we did it very isolated. So like it wouldn't be a situation for your kids because they have the sports they're into and stuff like that. My father very much wanted to take and pull me out of culture because he was
purposely pull you out.
Purposely pull me out of culture. He genuinely thought it was going the wrong way, and he wanted.
That's in New York.
No, that was here.
Okay.
And so he wanted me to have, and was one of the cool things. My father was older when I was born, and so he didn't have the.
How old was he?
My father was 50 when I was born.
Okay.
And he was almost 60 when my sister was born.
Okay. Wow.
And so
he kept it real for a long time.
For a long time. And so he didn't have like the perspective of like a new dad. He had seen a lot of life. I mean, I always say like
a shitload of life. Yeah.
The Secchi's guy, the most interesting man in the world. He's got nothing on my father. My father could tell stories. I mean, for days and stuff. He wouldn't even tell the stories. Some of them were so crazy. Like he didn't want me hearing that he did that. He didn't want me wanting to do that kind of stuff. Yeah. But I mean, like.
And he would actually homeschool you himself?
No. He hired a teacher from the school that I used to go to come, and that was the job.
Successful guy said, you know what? I want my kid to actually learn stuff.
That's it.
I'm going to put a teacher there, and then you have time to do other stuff.
And so he and I would watch old movies together. I mean, like black and white movies. I grew up watching black and white movies. I mean, I saw how culture was a long time ago and where we were. So it's the same thing even when I talk about realtors and showing a customer before you get the home inspection, show them what a home inspection looks like. Why? Now they have context. I now had context that what I see on TV is not how it always was.
Right.
And so it gave me a mindset to look at culture and say, well, these things these are way better than what they used to do. But these other things, they make no sense. We should be doing it the way we did it before made a lot more sense, you know? And so I think it just helped me not to just take everything for granted the way that it is. And so that was kind of the big gift that I felt my father gave me, plus a lot of his time.
Yeah, and you know, and even back then there wasn't. I mean, he'd be rolling over in his grave right now with the whole DEI movement. But let me tell you something. I have some good news here, Cadillac. Companies that are dropping out of this whole DEI bullshit. All right, and man, let me tell you something. If there's one of these social movements that just absolutely drive me insane, it's the DEI stuff.
Well, that's because
is the microphone picking up that Ferrari?
That's because you're not a racist or a sexist. If you're a racist or a sexist, it would bother you. But you know, you're not a racist or a sexist, so therefore, people being discriminated based upon their gender or skin color, or that should bother you. Yeah. That's exactly what we fought for years to not happen. Martin Luther King said the content of people's character. This is going the opposite way. It is saying, let's take and choose people based upon not what they're about, but what they look like, about things about them that they can't change. And
right. I saw this guy that Instagram that I always send, that guy that just he's eating and he said a smart ass comment, you know what I mean? Just like real short one-liners, type of stuff. Yeah. He's like, if you could hire a woman for less than a man and she does exactly the same thing, why not just hire all women?
Exactly.
Right. You know what I mean? Like, just why are companies just not one? I mean, you could same person, get them for less.
Because it's just not true. and unfortunately...
I mean, but that's like, I've never heard it explained that way. I'm like, oh yeah, well, why don't I?
Well, I'm going to go even further, all right? The company that doesn't hire the better qualified woman will not have the best people working for them and will lose, right? As a business, I only want to hire the best, most affordable people that I can. If I don't, my company will not be as good as it can be, and my returns, my profits will hurt. We are financially incentivized to put the best people that we can. If they're if folks are sitting here saying, well, you know, people only hire people that look like them, well, those companies that make that choice are not going to have the best people.
Yeah, and it's, you know, as an entrepreneur, as a person who's been hiring people for 25 years, and I'm not here to say I'm like the best guy in the world or anything, but far from it. But when I'm hiring somebody, what race or gender or whatever, like, I mean, if they come in and they're like, well, they show they're really good, I really don't care what they are.
Of course.
I mean, I've been joking around it for I've hired a couple gay guys now, and I'm thinking going all gay. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, these guys are fucking awesome.
They had their shit straight.
I mean, they really do.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, like at the end of the day, like you know, it's dude, I'm interviewing you. I'm asking you a series of questions. I get a feel, because I've been doing it a really long time, who's gonna really, you know, who's gonna really, you know, do the best at the position that I'm hiring them for. I really don't give a shit about anything else. Yeah. I'm worried about my company. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm worried about my company. Like, so
I just want the best person that I can put in there who's going to take the most brain damage off. Like, I want as little blowback for me. If I'm bringing you in, please do your thing well, so I don't have to hear about what you're not doing, right? Yeah. And I just want competency. I do a lot of hiring for my company as well. Yeah. And, you know, to fly in the face of this, you know, people hire people that look like them. I don't have anybody that works for me that's checking my boxes.
Yeah, look, and if I could get Ariel to go gay, right? I mean, he's black and gay. I mean, I could cover.
Just
he becomes unfireable at that
point. There you go. Job security.
But look, so Ford, Harley Davidson, Home Depot, Lowe's, John Deere, Home Goods, Lyft, DoorDash, Zoom. That's just some of the companies that we kind of researched that have let go of the whole DEI thing. Because again, and I know I've had a couple of these, you know, Instagram clips on the whole DEI thing. But so just to make sure, the diversity, equity, and inclusion. That's what this whole DEI thing. I am now in charge of hiring. So when they hire these DEI experts, They're hiring somebody that their job is to literally not hire the best. It's to fill in, I need 4 blacks, 5 gays, 3 women, because I don't have enough of a ratio. I'm going to hire them irrelevant of their preparation, right? Am I exaggerating that?
It's some of that for sure. It's definitely partially affirmative action by a little bit of a different name,
Right.
as well. But there's also this general idea that a person's differences make their opinion more valuable because having a variety of opinions in the room matters. And so that is the leverage point that they make to take and say, this has value to it. And frankly, I think that somebody's skin color or gender is far less important than the things that they've chosen to study and learn along the way. That's what's going to make their opinion
And
more
that
valuable.
whole thing about people buy from the people. No, nobody knows who's in the desk, who's in the accounting desk
Yeah,
of
no, I
Harley
agree with that.
Davidson.
I agree with
you know
that.
what I'm saying? Like, if all of a sudden, if Harley Davidson started hiring all Cubans, right? Like, I mean, you go in there, everybody had white capri pants on and the funny looking shit that they wear now and the funny haircuts and everything like that. That wouldn't make any difference to me whatsoever. Why would I buy a Harley Davidson depending on who works in the accounting department?
Absolutely.
Like, it makes like this whole movement that we're in, it's literally a systematic shitting on our country and the processes and the companies that, I mean, we are small businesses, right? The economy. There's nothing more, and again, this is with a question mark at it, because I know you're going to have a history of small businesses in our country, right? So, is there anything more important to our economy than small businesses?
No, because small businesses become the big businesses, right? This is how it works. It's the small ideas that turn into the big ideas. It's the constant willing of trying to find the next best thing. This is what makes it so beautiful, brother, right? The reason why this country works, even though it's so easy to point to greed, people are always doing something to get ahead. But the thing that's required for me to get ahead is to figure out what you need and how I can get it for you or to you in a way better or cheaper than you can get it someplace else. And then you, by your free choice, making with a myriad of choices, making the choice to pick my product because I've done the work considering you. The reason why capitalism has worked so well is it forces us to consider the needs of somebody else first. Now, there's places where that breaks down. You know, you could get into the case of, high-end Wall Street where people just don't understand what goes on. But understand, those guys are managing the funds for grandma's pension, too.
Right.
And we want to make sure grandma doesn't have to eat cat food.
Yeah.
So I think that the fact that they get away with it in Germany because they get each other at each other's throats, because if you're successful, it's at my expense. That is a very, very limited aspect. It is a scarcity mindset that makes it not a very healthy environment. The reason why immigrants do so well in this country is they come here with the prosperity mindset. There's a lot of pie to be had. Yeah. Let me go get my slice of America. And they do because they expect it and they're looking for it. The American citizens that are out there complaining and whining don't get their slice of the pie because they believe all the pie has been taken by somebody else and there's none left for them.
Yeah.
That idea, that mindset is why our young people in this country do not appreciate what they have, because they have been sold a bill of goods that the immigrants know isn't true and come here and prove it. The very success of the immigrants we see in this country flies in the face of this rigged field that is set against everybody.
Yeah, and listen, and that, I think the further you are away from that immigrant mentality, the more prone you are to falling into that. Because let me tell you something. I have a daughter, I have a son, and I speak to them both equally. I don't sugarcoat my shit for my daughter or anything. I mean, you know me well enough. I'm not in danger of that.
No, the other way perhaps, but
right.
That way, no, for sure.
And man, let me tell you something. There's one thing that if I see them being like spoiled, right? I go, look, there's 2 things in this house you're not going to be: a fucking pussy, right, and spoiled, right? And they're kind of connected. Right?
Yeah, totally.
You better appreciate what you have and understand that you are how lucky you are to be in the circumstances you are. And we're going to try to help and we're gonna try to the whole situation, right? Because again, there's one thing is helping, and the other thing is, well, everybody should be equal, right?
Yeah.
You know, hey, no, let's get rid of the fancy house and the nice stuff and everything, and let's go live in the hood just because we want to be. No, it's not. No, let's help people, and that's the part that I don't understand. How do we help people? Come in, and again, you and I had conversations just the other day, right, about how do we help kids learn, and we're breaking our heads trying to create some curriculum that's going to help people come up. Give me the hand, let me drag you up. No, it's not, oh no, I'm going to put myself down to your level.
Yeah.
And let's help. Come. This
Absolutely.
is the light. This is the way. So I think that's the difference right now between the Republican Party and the Democratic Party, right? One thing is like, hey man, let's go. Let's get better. Let's learn more. Let's work harder. The other one is like, no. You're the bad guy. You're the rich guy. Let's bring you down over here. Everybody. I don't even know if it was. We put it on our Instagram. We got all kinds of crazy comments. That guy that says that food rationing at a Kamala Harris convention. It is so crazy that it has to be fake, but I don't know if it's fake. I mean, it looks real to me, right? Food rationing, these food price controls and food rationing would be good because it creates equity, right? And equality and the whole situation. We need to starve people so that everybody's the same. That is the mentality that we're like Elon Musk calls it, the woke mind mentality, right? I mean, it's just the woke mind virus, the woke mind virus.
So look, the only way that you can think that poorly is to have been exposed to academia for the first 20 plus years of your life, right? The only people that can think like that are academics, because they're not really forced to live in the real world like the rest of us. They have a fairly risk-averse job that gives them relatively guaranteed. They're not going to sit here and talk about how hard they have in their fight for whatever. If you stay in the rails, you take the tests, you pass the tests. It's not a high-risk business to be in.
Yeah.
And look, my brother's an academic. I have respect for what they do, for those that go out there and teach folks how to think. They teach them the tools. They don't tell them what to think, but how to think.
Yeah.
But the idea that somehow people are made better by just giving them things has been disproved through the history of the world time and time again. Even Martin Luther, so not Martin Luther King, Martin Luther, all right? He said the biggest...
The person Martin Luther King was named after.
Correct, that guy.
All right.
This guy, Martin Luther, said one of the hardest things they had to do was to distinguish between the deserving and undeserving poor, right? So who needed what help and how to give it to them in a way that helped them to help themselves. So we want to take, and one of the guys that tried to figure this out was Andrew Carnegie. Andrew Carnegie gave away almost his entire fortune, but to largely two things: church organs. And the reason why is because back in the day, that was the only place where people could hear music, right? And he thought music was important for the development of the human soul. I mean, if you never heard, there was no radio or whatever, music is a good thing. And libraries. He said even any of his plants, wherever he had there was always a library, because if anybody that worked for him wanted to take and make away from themselves, he wanted to give them a path to go get everything they needed. And so I think that mindset, and what he said was actually, the only thing worse than dying with all your money is giving your money away the wrong way.
Right.
Giving it to people.
Right. It could turn into poison, literally.
You're doing that it actually harms you. You're doing it to make you feel good, but it harms the person you're helping.
Some of the most fucked up people I've met in my life have been like extremely rich.
Oh, totally.
Wealthy. People that grew up extremely wealthy. That is just, I would even consider it worse than growing up poor. And I know it sounds crazy, and I know I'm going to get a bunch of shit for it. I'm telling you, because they grow up with no ambition, right? There's nothing, and that's why, I'm a guy who smoked pot a lot. Every once in a while, I'll smoke a joint here and there, right? nothing. So and again, I have a lot of friends that are in the marijuana industry and everything. So
Sure.
I feel weird, kind of like saying, oh, I would vote against it, But I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of kids having access to
25
marijuana.
years old, man.
Yeah,
25.
until your brain's developing until you're 25 years old. Is that what you're saying? Is that what you're saying? Yeah, your brain's developing until you're 25 years old. It affects the development of the brain. And what marijuana does in reality, that makes it very dangerous. I mean, look, cocaine, what are you going to go have a big party? You're going to get all hyped up. The next day you're back. Marijuana is a daily, like that's usually what it comes into. Oh, I'm smoking weed every day. I'm smoking weed every day. It makes you reclusive. If you were an extrovert, it makes you an introvert, right? It just makes you lazy, and it literally it takes away your ambition.
That's the thing that eats my soul.
It takes away your ambition. If you notice, you had 5 people, 10 people, whatever. There's 3 potheads in there. Potheads are going to stay here, right? And then you're going to be like, oh, but I know this guy because I know a couple of very productive potheads.
Sure,
but they're like, oh, I'm productive. Well, imagine where you would have been if you weren't a fucking pothead, right? If you weren't smoking weed every day and this wasn't taken away and you're taking a drug that's constantly chipping away at your ambition, which is probably the biggest talent you have, the most important thing you have, because look how successful you are with it. Yeah. Imagine if we took that away and
Yeah, no, I mean, I think, I know for me, like I work really, really hard. I mean, I think you know me. I mean, an 11-hour day is pretty much run of the mill for me.
Yeah.
If I'm on the road, sometimes it's 15, 16 hours to get from one place to the other, whatever.
Yep. Well, today's a good example. You got like 3 more meetings after this.
Oh yeah, and tomorrow I got all day, and then I got to jump on a plane at 7:42. I get where I'm going at midnight. I'll be in my hotel by 1 a.m. and I got to be good to go at 8 a.m. ready to go on stage. Yeah. Now the story of my life. But the difference between being successful and unsuccessful is often just that choice to stay up and answer one more email, and to take on that one more project after work. Because man, that couch. Oh, the siren song of that couch, man, and just taking and turning on Netflix and just relaxing. I mean, letting my mind on one. Netflix is awesome, except once again, it's that drug. It's one more drug, right? And so, I mean, I can't tell you. This weekend, I totally sat on the couch and just watched a lot of Netflix and relaxed because I've been burning the candle at both ends. But I really am very careful at metering that out. If I had a little bit less in the tank, man, oh my God!
Can I ever convince you to drink? That'd be awesome. Wine, Cadillac?
At this point,
Jesus Christ, drank.
I'm aware, totally aware. No,
that wouldn't even convince you. I mean, it's all over the Bible and stuff. Yeah. And one glass of wine.
Here's the thing.
What do you think will happen?
A couple of things. One, I'm afraid I'd like it.
Right? You'll definitely like it.
And so
wine.
Do I need that? Do I really need that? The extra calorie? Do I really need the extra stuff in my life? And so, for me, I think
a person like you. Just hear me out for a second.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm willing to take to have the debate always.
It's funny because they say alcohol is the only drug that you could openly try to convince somebody to do it. You're gonna look like a complete piece of shit. If I were here, like, listen, crack, bro. Let's talk about crack for a second. Like, dude, just try it. You're gonna feel so good. Cocaine, whatever, etc. But so Friday night, dude, you've busted your ass the whole time, right? Or even, I'm gonna do it better. You've just finished. You did 3 days straight teaching. You're done. You're at the Delta Lounge, which I know you love. Mm-hmm. All right, bro. You sit there, get a little wine, sit down. The relaxation goes, I don't know, tenfold, I would say. And again, listen, I'm not expecting to do the whiskey. I'm not expecting to do anything. But wine, let me tell you why I think you'll like it. Because you could actually study it, right? And you could go, imagine you'll be a fucking sommelier in a year. You know what I mean? Like that's why I think that the regions, and then you could add to the travels, and then all of a sudden I'm going to this area where this wine came from. And I would think that would be something that you could just, for the rest of your life, just become a fucking. I could see you going, and I could just see you doing all of that, and it'll relax. Supposedly there was a study. I don't know if you heard this. A resident expert, a Jewish expert over there. So I heard that the Hasidic Jews, they don't last too fucking long. Like they die pretty early because they don't drink. Because there's never so dude, no matter how hard my week is, I know that Friday, dude, I'm gonna have a drink and nothing really matters. I mean, for that, there's an exhale of you know what, dude?
A time-blocked unwind.
It is. So if you add let me turn this off of relaxation. Now now it turns my weekend into, all right, dude, you know what? I don't really give a shit anymore. It's the weekend. I'm gonna forget about everything. You add all those hours of either stressed or not stressed, right? Now, like straight up alcohol is kind of bad for you though, right? Like whiskey and all that stuff, that kind of fucks you. Beer is actually the worst for your liver. I don't know if you knew that, because it makes your liver work the hardest to digest it, right? To process it.
Yeah.
So but wine supposedly good for the heart, good for this, good for that, the whole situation. So yeah, so if you add all those hours that you would have been stressed versus now you're not stressed, right? Like it just makes you live longer. You know what I mean?
No,
and a lot of these wine regions and everything like that, people just do live longer. Like Europe, you know, and as a whole, there's a lot of places that
I buy that.
Right.
I buy that.
Want to have a drink?
So I mean, I think that there's a couple.
Will you ever? You don't think you'll ever have a drink?
Maybe at some point. I don't know. I mean, I pride myself on it, and it's a weird thing, right? I've always told you I believe in standards, right?
Yeah.
The idea that I figure out what I want the end of my life to look like what I want to be able to say about the guy they're putting in the box.
Yeah.
And a lot of the choices that I make are actually based upon that. And one of the big ones is, it's one of the reasons why I always answer my phone, is I want to be if there's one person in the world you know that will answer their phone call, you're getting ready to be taken prisoner in Mexico, and you got one phone call. I want to be
Cadillac's gonna answer. Right?
I'm gonna be there for you, right?
Yeah.
I like it that my people can depend upon me like that. I like being that guy, and so if I was ever not available because of something that I did for myself like that, it would fly in the face of who I try.
Right. So let me tell you a solution to that. I tell my realtors, if you call me around 5 o'clock on a Friday, I'm going to answer, but I'm probably going to be drunk.
I'm not going to be happy about it. Yeah.
Right? So, and I really do say that. You know what I mean?
Oh, I know you. I know you well enough.
I'm going to fucking answer. You know. So, yeah, man. I mean, it's why I'm worried about the election, right? So we have the education system against us, right?
Yep.
We have the youth being literally indoctrinated into one side, okay? We have the entire educational system against us. Fair to say?
It seems like it, yeah.
Until Musk put his balls on the line and bought X, right? We had the entire social media platform against us, right? That's a lot to go against.
Sure.
That's a lot. You're getting the youth, and then you're getting the social media, which Zuckerberg, did you read his letter?
Nice.
He absolutely just admitted, I felt the pressure. Basically said, I felt the pressure. They definitely pressured me into censoring stuff. I'm never going to do it again, right? That's basically what I got to it. And the money I donated, I shouldn't have done that, and I'm never going to do it again, right? That's basically the gist of the letter. So you got to understand. So you know, I got a lot of people. I have a lot of friends that that fell into the whole social media push, right? Sure. That he was discussing, and I'm like, man, you're not upset that you just got fucking played by a political party? I mean, absolutely fucking played in one direction. Like, you're not upset at all at that? I mean, it's pretty crazy that we could have Facebook. To a lot of people is everything, right? I mean, it's the way they communicate. It's where they get their news. Sure. It's what their reality is where they learn stuff from. It's the whole situation. So when you have a huge platform, worldwide platform like that, censoring information, I mean, it's scary stuff. So that's what we're dealing with, right? We're dealing with, we can't even get Trump protected correctly because we have to have a 5-foot lesbian protecting him. We just absolutely have to. Because, hey man, that's not fair, right? Are we running out of time? yeah, we just have to absolutely have a 5-foot lesbian protecting them, because if not, we're hurting somebody's feelings, right? So we can't even get that done now. Sure. Now, you know, this, and I mentioned it the other day, but I didn't talk to you about it. So this guy Tim Kennedy, right? Special Forces guy, right? I mean, he operates like a company now where, you know, it's you know, it trains police officers, trains, by the way, another thing that I'm gonna mention, Kamala Harris wants to eliminate police officers from schools. Did you see that, Bart? Mm-hmm. Right. So now all of a sudden, our kids are being indoctrinated, now they don't even want to protect them anymore. What is going on with that? Like, why would you? And when I put that online, people are like, well, we shouldn't even need police officers. We have a bigger issue, and we shouldn't need police officers at schools. 100% right. We shouldn't, but we do. Mm-hmm. We're here now, right? And there's an enormous mental health situation in our country. Absolutely. That's never going to be fixed until, you know, big pharma gets fixed, right? Mm-hmm. It is more profitable, makes more money, makes more sense monetarily to keep somebody crazy, right, than to give them treatment. Just give them pills. Don't give them the treatment. Just 100%. Give them pills and keeps them going, right? So, but again, back to that, we're gonna get these kids that are out there helpless, and we're gonna remove this last shooting that just happened right now, right? Well, who's the one? It was the school security guard, right? Or the what do you guys call it?
Resource officer.
I've never heard that before. The resource officer. They don't call it a cop?
He's a cop, yeah.
Right, that's what I'm saying. But they call it a resource officer? Yeah. Is that a Georgia thing, or is that a?
Maybe it's a Georgia thing. He has his own office.
You've heard that before? A resource officer?
Yeah.
How come I never heard that before? Resource officer, and he has an office there and everything. Okay, so he's the one who actually killed the guy, right? So, you know, how are we going to remove that? Imagine if that resource officer wasn't there. How many kids would have died? I mean, it could have been 20, 30, 40, 50. Who knows? Well, I mean, how many bullets did he have? That's how many would have died.
I think that there's an interesting phenomenon that's going on, right? I mean, I'm of the opinion, largely. Maybe I share some libertarian bent for sure, and that I love this country. I love how it is, and I just pick the one that's going to screw it up least in the next election cycle. Like, I am very grateful for the inefficiency of government, its inability to change things rapidly, and unfortunately, the seizing of power that's gone on by especially the executive branch over time, and every party has done more and more of this, has made the government more able to, through rules and things like that, to make major changes that typically, I think if the founders saw what was going on, they would be absolutely mortified that this stuff is not having to go through Congress and have a vote of, you know, that bureaucrats are passing these rules. Everything establishment is counter to what the progressives want to do. So if it exists, it's bad. Police officers are part of the establishment. So their presence is bad. It is harmful, right? School is this place that they want to take kids and show them this like utopia of how it could be if we could just all live in this, you know, quasi-socialist experiment that it seems.
Yeah, it's all about not hurting people's feelings. So a police officer or a resource officer, whatever you call it nowadays, hurts people's feelings, and it might make them. So I went to a school, high level school, and it's a boarding school. One of the best schools in the country. I'm not going to name the name, but to get a tour of the school. And they had, well, I know they have it here in Florida too. I'll give another story on that. They had a safe room where a kid can, I guess, go in there and be gay and cry and not get their feelings hurt, right? It's literally called a safe room, right? And that's where the kid, again, gets, you know, has his little feelings hurt or whatever, could go in there and cry, right?
So I heard a story, and I think you're gonna like this. This guy's one of the most successful insurance guys, wealth planner guys, and he was talking to me, and he was telling me a story that when he was like 6, 7 years old, there's this kid that used to beat him up, like this 9-year-old that would beat him up every day. And he was really good if he could stay standing up, but if he got on the ground, he was in trouble, right? And so his father would, tell him, hey, look, this is how you got to fight the kid and whatever else, right? So one day he's almost home, and this kid catches up to him and starts beating the crap out of him, and his parents drive up. They park the car, and he's like, yeah, my parents are going to come get me. They step over the two boys fighting, go in the house, and leave them there to fight.
Perfect. Great parenting.
And so,
I'm not kidding. I'm
no, I know you are. I know that this is right in your wheelhouse.
Yeah.
So years later, now he's successful. He's done a lot of stuff, and he goes to his mother. His mother's older. He says to her, what happened? She said, look, I remember that day to this day. Your father and I went in the bedroom and we cried our eyes out that we had to let you go through that. But the reality of it is, it was your fight. You had to win it. You had to learn to fight
or
it.
lose it.
Or lose it and learn how to hate losing and find a way around it. That you can't look. You can't build muscles by sitting on the couch, right? You have to take and tear it down. You have to hone it. You have to hone yourself in fire, right? And when we take and insulate kids from every little adversity, they don't have any capacity to deal with what life is really like. Parents that do this, frankly, are preparing their kids for a really, really bad future where they're not prepared to handle it. Oh, they'll figure it out when they're in their 40s. Come on.
Yeah, and Jordan Peterson puts it the best. I mean, I'm gonna screw it up, but just to paraphrase it, he's basically like, no, man, a man should be a monster. Mm-hmm. A monster. Now, that doesn't mean that monster's out there to hurt people or anything like that, but he should have the ability. Formidable. He should have the ability to destroy that other man, right? He should have the ability. It's that old saying, right? I rather be a gardener. I rather be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. I'd rather be a warrior in a garden than a gardener. So again, I'd rather be the guy that could just an absolute killer in a garden. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm a gardener. I'm an absolute killer, but I am here with my flowers, no problem. Different than a florist, or a little gardener in a war, right? Where he can't defend himself. Right?
One requires internal capacity. Right. And that's really the thing that we need to do, and especially for our boys. Our boys have been left behind so badly because we aren't letting them build in the internal capacity of seeing themselves persevere through hard things. I've always said, similar to what you're saying, warrior poet. That's who I want to be. Yeah. I want to be a man for all seasons. What do you need? Put me in, coach. You need a guy to stand back to back with you in the foxhole? Yeah. I'm a good guy. I'll always be there. You stand next to me, you'll never stand alone. Yeah. You want somebody to sit here and discuss philosophy with you? Happy to do that all day. Yeah. And so, that's what we should be trying to help people to be, as opposed to taking and trying to bring our boys down to be like girls and our girls to be more like boys. Why is it that everything male is now criminal type behavior? Yeah. Boys being boys, having energy, being rambunctious, want to go out and play, wanting to play war, wanting to take and wrestle with each other. This is all boys being boys, trying to take my bulldog. I have a boy bulldog. He wants to wrestle with dad. Yeah. He goes at it, and that's what he loves. That's in the wiring, right?
No, and it's funny because so again, back to this Jordan Peterson thing, right? So where he says, look, people should be absolute monsters, but you should have the self-control. You're a monster that decides not to use it. And it's a funny story. So, anybody who knows, how I how I raise my kids, but my son in particular, he, has been doing martial arts since he could walk, right? I mean, literally Taekwondo since he was a kid, boxing since literally I have pictures of him barely out of the stroller, throwing punches and everything like that. Has 2,500 jiu-jitsu, wrestling matches, maybe 400 jiu-jitsu fights. I mean, so funny story is that he loves sweets, man. This guy. I mean, he's a chocolate guy. I mean, listen, man. If there's one thing, you want to get him pissed off, take away his chocolate, take away his sweets or anything. You want to punish him, that's what you take away. You don't take away phones. It doesn't matter. No video games. Just take away his sweets. You got a problem with this guy. So I pick him up. I pick him up from school one day, and he's like, "Oh, somebody tried to bully me today." I'm like, really? No shit. He's like, yeah. He tried to take my chocolate away. And I'm like, oh, so what happened? You know, so the kid comes up to me and goes, hey, let me get you a chocolate. And he's like, no, I'm gonna give you my chocolate. And the kid, you know, says it again. He give me your chocolate, you know. And my son stands up and he goes, hey, I'm not giving you my chocolate, man. You got a problem with that? And the guy just looks and goes away. Like I would, listen, I don't want it to happen. I got to give you the responsible answer, right? Yeah. But if that guy would have reached over and gotten that fucking chocolate, I mean,
it would not have done well.
It was the absolute ass whooping. But again, the self-control of saying, no, man, you know what? I'm going to give you 2 warnings here. Buddy, you're not going to take my chocolate. Nothing in this world, especially my chocolate. Maybe my book, my book bag, my fucking chocolate you're never going to get. I mean, that, the self-control, the fact that he is an absolute killer, right? Yeah. And the fact that he could absolutely, within 15 seconds, arm drag into a rear naked choke, game over. Within 15 seconds, that kid cannot breathe, right? And he chose not to do it. It's exactly the way
what you want. That's exactly it.
It's what you want. It's what we want from society. It's what we want. We don't. This is not about hurting people. This is not about. No. It's none of that. It's about, you know, let's be the best we can be, right? Let's exercise control. You know,
let's stand up for what the right thing is, and the right thing, and giving people the capacity, the ability to sit there and say, no, taking what I have is wrong. And I'm not going to let you do that. Yeah. And if they were about to do it to somebody else, being able to step in the middle and say, you're not going to do that on my watch. Yeah. Right. And having that capacity, the ability to fight injustice and having the courage, because that's what it is. Yeah. The courage when the chips are down, when things get hard, that comes, and especially for guys, from having gone through stuff. You don't get that capacity from just, it doesn't magically appear.
And that's why I love sports too. And I know that you didn't really grow up. It has to do with your dad being an older guy and the whole situation, right? But bro, your mentality is just a sports mentality. Like you would have fucking excelled. You know what I mean?
No, I did. Whenever I played, I always did.
Oh, you did play sports?
Yeah, I played football.
Oh, you did? Okay, I didn't. Yeah. So yeah, because what I call sports is synthetic adversity. Yeah. The brain, back to that coddling of the human mind, or I forgot the one book that I've seen videos on, I've seen clips. I'm gonna fucking read it. I haven't read it yet, but one of the things one of the highlights that it says is that the brain needs adversity to develop.
Absolutely.
The human brain, the growing brain needs adversity to develop. But here's the thing: we live in a world where there's not much adversity around, right? So when I grew up, there was real adversity. You know, like, I had fights in school because I was wearing the same fucking clothes every day. My shoes had holes in them. Yep. You know, people would make fun of you. You know, that type of stuff. So my adversity was, dude, I had to fight. I went to a school where I tell my son all the time, I'm like, I don't remember a time going to school where I wasn't worried about getting in a fight. I don't remember a day of school going there and saying, well, today I'm for sure not going to get in a fight. Every day was a fucking problem, right? Yeah. So my kids, I tell them, like, again, you know, I speak to my kids just the way I speak to my friends. I go, you guys live in fucking fantasy land. Mm-hmm. You guys live in a fantasy land. Like, your life is I couldn't even imagine what, but I tell you what, they have a shitload of what I call synthetic adversity. My kids cry on a regular basis, right? Mm-hmm. I've seen my son sit there and cry for hours because he lost a big tournament. Mm-hmm. My daughter, same thing, had a bad game, had a bad practice, you know, losing, winning, all of that stuff. That's synthetic. Hard work. I worked my ass off and I won. Yep. I worked my ass off and I lost, right? I worked my ass off and I made one mistake and I lost. Yep. I can't make mistakes. Yep. Right? I got to go back to the drawing board and I got to make sure, or that I'm so good that I could make mistakes and I'm still going to win. Mm-hmm. Right? All of that stuff. That sports for a child, that's, that has a good life. I mean, if you're growing up poor, guys, there's plenty of, don't even worry about it. You don't need the synthetic part.
Yeah,
right?
no,
there's real ones.
Naturally provided.
Those Haitians that are stealing cats over there in Ohio, guys, don't worry about it. You guys get real adversity there. By the way, all jokes, I love Haitian people, hardworking people.
They are.
I don't know why they're either security guards or nurses. That's what they like to do when they get to this country. That's fucking amazing. Like, those are the two professions. I haven't figured out why. I had plenty of Haitian friends, and they're hardworking people, great people. They come here with aside from the stealing cats part, which I find it fucking hilarious, they're hardworking. They come here with the immigrant mentality.
Absolutely.
And they get right to work. Those guys, man, they come here from that absolute shithole that they come from, and they appreciate every second of being here. Great people. But I lost track with the Haitian talk. I don't know where I was going with it. But either
your kids, the
hard yeah. So yeah. Listen, man. There's no. I don't know any other way to teach kids about life, right? And then putting them through that synthetic adversity, high level sports, and not I'm gonna take Timmy to soccer practice and see what happens. No. Let's try to make Timmy the best soccer player ever.
Yeah.
Right? And let's see where that journey takes you. It's not about, let me see what I get from what I hear all the time. I'm going to see if he likes it. Motherfucker, what the, does he like brushing his teeth?
Yeah.
Right? Does he, it's too hard. And he cried because it was too hard and it was hot and everything like that.
Good.
You're teaching him about, how much time I got left? Okay. So yeah, man.
I'll give you this last piece. I mean, for me, that was always the gym. I mean, when I played sports, there was quite a bit of that. And obviously, I don't fit the demographic that you normally see on a football team in Southeast Florida.
So I never imagined you played football. You might have told me that.
I was pretty fast, and so I was able to take and make up for it. But I also practiced harder than anybody. I was there before everybody, and I left after everybody every single day. And it was hard to break the field, get on the field, even and get a shot, just because I didn't, fit the stereotype.
Well, what do you mean? I'm just kidding.
You know exactly what I mean. And when I did, I did pretty well, but. Going to the gym was always that for me, because you get up against the edge of yourself where you're like, I can't do any more. Let's do one more anyway, right? Let's see. And so, finding out, pushing yourself beyond the edges.
You were an actual bodybuilder for a while.
I was a powerlifter first, and then I was a bodybuilder. And so powerlifting.
You got pictures of you in your bodybuilding days?
I might have one someone around there.
All right, can you send it so we can kind of put it on the...
Oh, great.
Come on, dude.
Yeah, no, I can probably maybe find someone.
Yeah, come on, you got to find it.
Yeah, I'll find one for you.
Yeah, and you were a ballroom dancer too.
Yeah, no, that was another way.
But it wasn't a bodybuilder Cadillac dancing, was it? It was skinnier.
Yeah, it was.
So you were a bodybuilder, ballroom dancer at some point.
At some point, it was great extra cardio. You're always taking and trying to figure out how to stay active without. It's no impact kind of thing, so you don't have to worry about the knees.
Footwork. There's was it Lomachenko? I think it was Lomachenko, a great boxer. The dad wasn't happy with his footwork. Mm-hmm. He quit boxing for like 2 years and just did dancing.
Yeah.
And then came back and his footwork.
It's great for your balance, man.
Yeah,
it's great for your balance. Get your weight where it needs to be, and it's a thing.
Yeah, I always threaten my son. And I'm like, you want to like if he would complain about something. I'm like, you know what? Fuck that. I'll put you in the ballet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I was threatening him with that. He didn't like it. Mm. So yeah, I mean, kind of like we talked about a lot of stuff. Any of my notes? First time I took notes. So let me see. No, I think I covered everything, man. You had any notes? Any notes on your end?
No, I mean, we're just talking about all the normal real estate stuff that's going on. But
all right, books. Let's promote.
My books.
You are a best-selling author. I mean, I don't know if you knew that.
We're working my way toward it. Right. Close for Life is the book that's out. Working on a new book project right now that it's going to be called Success for Life, and that's in the works. We're going to really try to take and get stories from some really successful people.
Plus our book project that if we ever get off the ground.
That is Success for Life.
Oh, that is for it? Oh, okay, okay.
And so that's going to be where we look at the stories and kind of try to isolate the things, because not everyone needs the same thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some people they don't need vitamin C because their diet naturally has it, but they're low on vitamin, A, right? And so I think looking at different people's stories and figuring out what that.
So we had a sports psychologist on the podcast last week, mm-hmm. and every time I ask him a question, how about for this person or that that type of athlete, that type of. Well, it depends. certain different things work for different people, and I'm like, I almost got tired. I'm like, dude, we need a fucking answer here. You know what I mean? He's like, it just depends. Like it had two examples of two very high level athletes, right? One of them at practice, if he lost at practice, wouldn't make a difference. Like he would actually go to practice with the intent of trying things out that would make him lose at practice, and didn't matter. When it came to competition, he would win. Then there was another athlete, again, very high level, very, very almost equal, right? If he had one loss at practice, his fucking world would end. He would go home crying, and it's like literally the world ended for one mistake, right? So both of them, it worked for them. Both of them high level athletes. Both of them just completely different. You know what I mean?
I think the best sports psychologist I could quote is Mr. Joe Torre, who had to manage some incredibly ridiculous personalities on those Yankee teams.
Okay.
And he said, this was his take. Some players need a pat on the ass, and some people need a kick in the ass.
Right.
And so, like A-Rod, he would say famously, he was a player that needed a pat on the ass. He was always the guy that you needed to tell him you were doing good. He needed to hear that.
Right.
Jeter was, the other way. Jeter wanted the, hey, what do you, more.
Yeah.
And so
It's crazy. Athletes are different. Minds are different.
well, sure, but I mean that's kind of the crazy thing, right? You and I have both found a way to be highly productive, and that's a mental game we play with ourselves.
I need negative energy. Oh,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
absolutely. That's what I'm saying, guys. Listen, if anybody's listening to this, please continue to send fucked up shit through the Instagram, DM. I absolutely need negative energy to function. Like I need people telling me I can't do it. I need people insulting me. I mean, that's my motivation. I really, so please, guys, all right? And I welcome the anti-Semitic stuff. Keeps Ethan on his toes over there, all right? So continue to do all of that stuff. I mean, send everything. Racist stuff, talk shit about Cubans, whatever you got to do. Just continue with the negative shit on the I find it fascinating that you have time to do that.
Yeah.
All right. And that your fucking lives are so goddamn negative that you're going to that's what you do. You wake up in the morning and you write negative shit. It is fascinating. So please continue to do it. No. But yeah, everybody's different, man. Are you a pat in the ass or a kick in the ass? What are you? I don't know. I don't think you give anybody time to get.
There's not many people that give me a kick in the ass.
That's what I'm saying. You kick your own ass.
Yeah, no, I do really. I mean, I think it's. I will say this: since you and I started working together, I've gotten a lot of things done just because you've asked me to, and I want to take and come through for you. So maybe that makes me a pat in the ass guy. I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah.
I
think we're gonna go into a cool chapter now. I think that the conversation, the meeting we had last week, like I'm fucking super gung ho about it.
I'm excited.
There's a couple things that you and I are working on. I'm slow dancing on one of them. I'm kind of stuck. Whatever, I need your help on, but there's a couple things that we're working on right now that are pretty exciting. So, but the one that we had last week, I mean, that takes us into a whole different galaxy.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? That
could really change the world and help
like
people.
Literally, it could change the state right away.
Yeah.
The state right away, because that's where we're gonna start. So it's gonna be cool. So
I agree.
All right, Kyle, I think we're like literally out of time. Yeah, right. 30 seconds or something. Yeah. All right, cool. Love you, brother. Thank you, man.
Right back at you, bro.
I think I forgot to put the order on.